Welcome to the podcast. We do recover with Jared Miller, your host.
And I'm Dr. Terry Sellers, your co-host.
This is a podcast about recovery from addiction.
We want to talk about what successful recovery can look like.
Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn.
Welcome to episode 84. So today, right off the bat, I want to give a shout out. It's my son's 12th birthday today.
Happy birthday, bud.
So happy birthday to Braden. I just wanted to kick it off with that. Today for episode 84, we have LT Weaver on here.
Yes. How you doing?
With Recovering Addict.
That's me.
And we're going to get to him. We're going to get to his story and the cool stuff that his nonprofit organization is doing a little bit later on in the episode. First of all, though, like before we get into all that, I want to give like some shout outs. First of all, to Steps Recovery Center. Episode 84, part 1 is brought to us by Steps Recovery Centers, where they are ready to help you or a loved one get help as soon as you're ready to reach out. Reach out by giving them a call at 801-800-8142, or you can go to their website at stepsrc.com. You can live chat with one of their intake coordinators. Again, they're ready to help you or a loved one get help. Just reach out to them. So the other thing I wanted to jump into is, man, we've been getting some downloads like all across the world, and I just wanted to give some shout out to some of these places. Uh-oh, hang on. It's telling me it kicked me out. You got them pulled up, Donovan?
Yeah, but you logged in, which then kicked me out.
Oh, man.
You can't both be logged into the same website at the same time.
Okay, here we go.
So whatever you wanted to say, it's all you.
All right, I got it. So in the leading in as far as downloads for this podcast, the United States is in the lead. Followed shortly there by Canada, France, United Kingdom, Mexico. Those are our top international countries. When we break that down in the U.S., Utah. Shout out to Utah, man.
Yeah.
Representing.
Utah.
We got the most downloads here in Utah, followed by California. People in California that are giving us some love, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for downloading these episodes. We appreciate it. Nevada, Colorado, and Michigan. So that's our top 5. And then we actually have some in Canada. Ontario. Shout out to Ontario. They're our number 1 downloads for Canada.
How'd you say that?
Ontario?
Okay.
Am I saying it wrong?
It sounded weird.
Manitoba is the next one.
Yeah, you got that one right.
Alberta, and then British Columbia.
Alberta.
Thank you, Sean.
There's an A at the end.
You're editing me like Sellers was last week. Just let me read stuff incorrectly, guys.
Like last week.
Yep.
Get the last week. There you go.
And then we got Australia, Victoria, Queensland, South Australia. Just my heart's full. Like, this is crazy. We started this thing 2 years ago, and we got a bunch of responses. So thank you guys so much. Shout out to all the other states that we have downloads in. If I didn't get you, I'm sorry. So we always start off with what we call new and goods, LT. You ready?
Okay,
yeah.
wait, so my little button doesn't work.
Okay.
But I need you to say new and good on the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
New and good.
There you go.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
I got a new mixer, so it has some cool stuff. LT, can you say new and good for me on 1, 2, 3?
New and good.
There you go.
Sweet. So let's get it. What is new and good in your world?
Oh, man. Just as you were reading all those countries and states, what it brings to mind is there's people out there, and addiction is the same across the whole world. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
People are searching and looking. It doesn't matter if you're in Russia drinking vodka. It doesn't matter if you're down in Mexico drinking tequila. You know what I mean? Right. It just does the same thing to people all over the world. In my life, doing good is just life in general, learning that every day is a challenge and a journey, and enjoying the moment and the process of every day, not looking in the past, not looking in the future, just this new mindset, this new growth and recovery for me. It just has leveled me up, I guess you could
just
say.
Being present, just
being
enjoying being present.
Yeah.
I love it, bro. There's a book called, Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now.
Yeah.
And it talks about that. It talks about like being present. And
Yeah.
I love Eckhart Tolle's books. So anyways, love that, man.
Yeah, me too.
And new and good, you're down here in sunny St. George.
Sunny.
I saw your go live this morning.
Yeah.
Terrible,
that was fun.
terrible
No.
internet.
Every hotel ever. And then they're like, hey, $4, we'll give you some fast internet.
Oh, yeah. So they gotta
But I'm
get you on
spoiled
that
at
charge,
home.
bro.
I'm spoiled at home with super,
And
fiber
it's a
optics.
little hotter down here than you're used to.
Way hotter. I'm chubby and hairy. I'm made for the cold weather.
Bro, we could be brothers. I'm chubby and hairy too. That's rad. We ought to do a podcast together just called the Chubby Hairy Dudes in Recovery. Sean Denman, what's new and good in your world?
I'm not sure if I want to follow that. Let's see. I was in West Yellowstone last weekend and left before the rains and the flood came.
Nice.
You know about the floods, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a huge thing on the news right now.
So,
how can you not know about the floods?
Yes. And then the week, actually, I was talking to somebody today. They had no idea.
Really?
I had to pull up Google and say, hey, look, it's all underwater. It's SeaWorld now.
I did not know that. I'm one of those people.
You didn't?
No.
Oh, yeah. It's like a once in a 1,000-year flood that's taken place. They've like shut down all of Yellowstone. You cannot go in.
Wow.
Yeah. Buildings being flooded and like going into the ocean.
Can you pull up
Into
some
the river.
pictures?
Yeah, I can, but it'll take a minute.
Oh,
so no.
okay.
But yeah, bridges washed out, roads washed out.
Really?
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
Sea life being inundated.
News to me.
Yeah. So they're going to be putting SeaWorld up there.
There you go. The new SeaWorld. I like it.
Shamu.
Well, listen, we're sitting in the studio, dude. We're rocking some pretty cool swag. My guy,
Yeah.
LT, dude. Thank you for bringing me. I love it when guests come on. I love it especially when guests bring me gifts.
Yeah.
So we're rocking the Recovering Addict hat. We got the shirt going on.
We look like
representing.
brothers. We really do look like brothers.
Yeah, dude.
huh?
We're twinners
Sick
today.
beards.
Yeah. Dope beards, right? Two dudes enjoying life in recovery.
Yeah.
So talk to me, LT. You've come on here. Obviously, you're a person in long-term recovery.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Oh man, where do I
So
start?
talk to me a little bit about that. Like, again, we want to give enough time that we can talk about your organization, Recovering Addict Nonprofit. So kind of when did the problem start for you? When did you realize that you were an addict or an alcoholic? What was going on in your life? Should we just start there?
Whew, man, that's a long time ago. You know what I mean? You got to rewind the clock.
For sure.
Because it all, especially when you start getting into long-term recovery, you realize how far back in the process you got jacked up. And mine goes all
Hopefully
the way back
you do,
to childhood.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so mine goes all the way back to childhood, just like normal, nothing out of the ordinary. Just the typical family these days. Divorce when when I was 7, the divorce thing. My dad, he was an addict and he could never hold a job, just this constant chaos. We never knew where we were going to be. And by the time I was 13, I ended up in Michigan.
A lot of instability, a lot of
We're living with grandma, and the fights, load up the car. Just you never knew day to day what was gonna go on.
it was kind of a world of chaos for you. It was
super
normal.
chaos.
Okay.
And so I grew up in that. We ended up in Michigan, and as you introduced me, my name's LT, right?
Yeah.
That's my name, Leonard Ted. And that nickname started when I was a baby, so it's always just kind of been my name. When my dad moved me to Michigan, he held me back a grade and changed my name to Ted. So that's how I introduced. So in Michigan, if you knew me, I went by Ted.
For our Michigan listeners, we got Ted on the show today.
Don't. I still got a bad rep up there. But it started up there. I kind of that was the moment that just kind of clicked. And I was like, you know what? And I just checked out.
Okay.
I started doing anything.
Around what age is this?
13.
Okay.
Smoking cigarettes, trying any drug I could get my hand on.
That's scary, bro. That's scary to think. Like my little boy turns 12 today.
Yeah.
And at 13, you were smoking cigarettes and drinking?
Oh, yeah. And weed.
Wow.
At least, and it's not like it was regular. I was 13, how hard it is to get.
Sure. But when you could get it, you would do it.
I would do it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And it wasn't like I was waiting for it to come around. I would look for it. I was actively looking for the bigger brothers and stuff.
Yeah.
Or parties.
It's just wild to think that's such a young age when you think about that. 13 years old.
Yeah, my daughter, she's 11 now,
Right? Like it's just not. Okay, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
And so right then, that's when it started. And it was funny because I've always told people I moved out when I was 15. And I had a supervisor a few years ago go, you didn't run it. You didn't move out. You ran away. You were 15.
Right.
I was
right.
like, oh, I did, huh?
Good point.
So basically, I ran away at 15, dropped out of high school, didn't make it through 10th grade. And all I did was chaos, just party after party, just whatever was wild is where I was going. Burning bridges, being the craziest. I was the influencer of the group too, to make it scarier or more extreme.
So you were the guy bringing the party.
Yeah.
You had to be like the alpha at the party.
Yes.
Okay.
Who's going to jump off of that?
LT.
Yeah.
LT's jumping off of that.
And and then I look back and I'm like, oh, I just wanted attention. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
And
Maybe
so,
some validation, maybe some connection somehow.
all that stuff. Absolutely.
Even though, it's funny because when you think about, I always think of
you're good.
things on from a counselor perspective, when you work with youth, a lot of their maladaptive behaviors come from that though.
Yep.
Like they just want to be validated. They just want somebody to pay attention to them. They just want somebody to acknowledge their existence.
That's exactly what I was doing.
Okay.
100%. And so by the time I'm 17, I'm doing crank, acid, anything I can get my hands on.
That quick. It developed that fast.
Oh yeah, just doing it. And I ended up in jail a couple of times. But what I got caught for was petty, like super petty theft. But you should have seen me at 17, right? I'm 43 now. I just turned 43 yesterday, FY. So me and your son we share close birthdays. I got caught with like carpet cleaner.
Okay.
And just something I was trying to get out. I lied to get into this apartment. I was trying to get my deposit back. And so I got caught stealing like stupid carpet cleaner.
Cleaning products.
Yeah, cleaning
basically.
products. And when I was 17, I looked like I was 12. And so I'm in this jail in Michigan at 17, just scared out of my mind 2 times, ended up on probation. And then my brother from Utah called me, and he's 9 years older than I am. He's like, get your butt back home now. And so
Home meaning Utah.
home meaning Utah.
Okay.
Yeah, because Michigan, my dad just, on one of his chaos journeys, right, marries this lady, and boop, we end up in Michigan. I have a German step family now, like straight German. All of a sudden, we're around the dinner table, and it's like German's being spoken, and
Crazy.
me and my sister are just like, okay.
Sounds like that was a pretty impulsive decision from your dad, just up
Yeah.
and move to Michigan.
Yeah,
That gives you a little insight of maybe what home life was like for you.
yeah.
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 So is it fair to say that when you started drinking and smoking that you were, I don't know, were you like escaping from something? Were you was it a social anxiety lubricant? Like I always, and I guess this is more of a me thing. I always find it fascinating. Like what was your why?
I loved it.
Okay.
I loved getting wasted.
So was it just the escape, or was it just the feeling? Like what really grasped for you?
Just being gone. I guess it was an escape into the mundane, or realizing when I was at that age, I remember being like 17, wrecked my car, homeless, had nowhere to turn right before my brother called me, and I remember thinking about my dad, and I'm looking in my mind at my dad, and I'm thinking I'm 17, and if I die at 80 years old, oh my God, that is a long time to live this loser life. And I'm going to be just like that guy.
Pretty good insight at 17, dude.
Yeah. And so that was just weighing me down. And so I think getting high escaped that for the moment, but I always came back, but I think it was partly escaping of who I didn't want to realize, or thinking that I was going to be just like him and not wanting to be nothing like him. And then the other was, I liked it. I liked getting messed up.
There's a reason why people will continue to do it. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. So 17, brother gives you a phone call. Hey, get your butt back to Utah. Talk to me about there. Let's pick up right there.
Nothing changed.
Well, of course, wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah. I came in, I moved in with him, and my brother's a big drinker. All the stuff I learned, like what I wanted to do, I was watching him and my cousins who are all, 9 to 15 years older than me. And so that even plays down even into my 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old age, watching my older cousins and what they do.
Sure. They were modeling that behavior
Yeah.
when you were okay. Gotcha.
So I come back and I pick up right where I left off from Michigan, looking for the parties, and that was it. I didn't care about holding a job. All my buddies, like my buddy Stevie, he went to college, and my other buddy was in college. They're going to Weaver State, and I'm doing sheet metal.
Yeah.
and I'm barely doing it at that. I'm
And
showing up
at that age, it's like what you do or what you're becoming is so important.
Yeah.
Right. Like, man, I feel like the young teens, early 20s have such pressure on what you're going to do for the rest of your life.
It does. And then on top of that, you still feel like you're a little kid inside, but yet you're turning into a man, and you're in this weird transition. And
Yeah. And let's face it, like doing sheet metal isn't always the most glamorous, fun job.
And then you got these older guys that are jerks,
Right.
and, the whole little construction crowd. And
Oh
so,
yeah, that's a rough crowd, man. It can be. It can be a rough crowd.
So sheet metal, ironwork, painting from 19 to 23. And during the whole time, I'm just trying to find the parties. And that's it. I mean, still using anything I can get my hand on, acid, anything. You put it in front of me, I'm going to use it. Unless it was like a needle or heroin, because I tried it once, and I saw some opiate users, and I was like, that's boring. Like, they're just sitting around doing nothing. I liked being on the go, just flying fast as I could go.
Got you. So your DOC's more uppers.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Okay.
Or alcohol. later in life, I come to find out.
Okay.
So by the time I hit,
But different strokes for different folks, right? Like,
Yeah.
Back to the original question, why do you feel like you started to develop an addiction? Like for me, it was an escape, and so opiates for me, like, sure, from the outside looking in, people were probably looking at me going, "Dude, like you just said, that's boring. All you're doing is sitting there nodding out." But for me, it was like I was numb.
Yeah.
I was in a different reality in my mind than I had to live in the day. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's crazy that
It's the same
different
type
things
of,
for different people, right?
Yeah, and the escape's no different.
Sure.
On the fast side of things,
Sure.
you know, because you're not you don't sit around to be able to think about it.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
like, what
Exactly.
chaos is coming next?
So we got LT, moved back to Utah. He's running and gunning, doing all these uppers.
I'm back to LT too. I'm not Ted no more.
Man, so your identity's kind of shifted through this whole
Yeah.
thing too.
And there's some funny YouTube videos that I've made where I have my split personalities.
Okay.
Ted is my addict,
Okay.
and then Leonard is my old timer from AA that keeps me on track.
Got you.
And
I
I'm
love
stuck
it.
in the middle. You know?
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I come back to Utah. My brother tries getting me jobs and teaching me, filling the dad role, really. Teaching me how to work on trucks. Bought me a 1971 Ford, 3 on the tree, and we worked on it. A lot of great lessons, and I love my brother for all that stuff, But me, I was still just wild partying, going to sand dunes, trying to ride motorcycles, playing drums in a band, doing that life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
From 19 to 20.
Thrill seeking, pleasure
Yeah.
seeking.
Yeah, and job jumping because I couldn't hold one. I'd show up all methed out or hungover or just, the usual, oh, I can't make it today for whatever reason. So I went from like sheet metal to painting, and I ended up in Vegas doing high-rise buildings.
Okay. Like steel work?
Structural steel,
Yeah,
structural steel. Worked there, met a girl, quit that job, ended up on a dude ranch, riding horses, just whatever. I didn't say no. I was just like, sure, well, go that way, okay. It was just this life, right? And then I come back to Utah about 22-ish, and I start selling Kirby's. And I found out I'm really good at it. I was like number 4 in the nation for a few months, and I was selling like 30 a month and making all this money. And then that's where
The vacuums.
Yeah.
Kirby vacuums.
door to
Okay.
door.
Okay.
Yeah, I was rocking it. It was fun. I learned a lot. That was another awesome lesson in life. Like I look back now and I don't regret.
Well, dude, you got
Much.
great energy. I could see that you'd be a good salesperson
Yeah.
because, like, you have some good energy about
Yeah,
you.
it was fun.
So, well, and if you're doing a bunch of uppers, you don't run out of energy to go knock door to door, and you're a little bit more brave, so that you don't even care if you get declined, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But then the meth. That's when I really started. Instead of just being at parties, drinking and puking, drinking and fighting, drinking and whatever, or whatever drug came across our table, and then letting it cool off for the week. Meth was introduced, and then that's when a habit started. All the other drugs tapered off. I didn't smoke weed. I didn't drink. It was meth and meth only from like 22 to 23.
So you kind of went from being a recreational user, or when it was available, to a daily user with the methamphetamine.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
like every second I could get my hands on it.
Yeah.
Just you criminal, and that's where meth took me. Within a year,
What age are you around this?
22.
Okay.
So 22, I'm a full-time meth addict criminal. I've switched jobs again.
They usually go hand in hand.
yeah.
Not always, but usually.
Yeah. And I end up getting caught for a second-degree felony, right? We burglarized our neighbor's house, one of my buddy's neighbor's house who was out of town, just looking for stuff to sell. But it's a crazy story, too, because at that same time, I had gotten put in jail, and I had silver tongue talked my way out of jail with a check. But it wasn't my check. It was my buddy's check, who was off in the Army. Like, that's bad. That tells you where I was, right?
Willing
And-
to do anything not to face the consequences.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I silver tongue devil my way out of jail. The Bell's bondsman, he's looking for me now. He's like, we don't take checks. And the fact that this guy took it and you did that, I'm taking this personally.
Yeah.
And then I finally get caught by the cops for this other felony. And so I end up going to jail for like a year. And that's what scared me straight off of meth. Where I think I was probably 1 week away from using needles at that point, because that's who I was hanging out with. That's the darkness I was in.
That's eventually where the road was going to lead.
It was already, people were like, dude, just shoot it up, man. You're wasting it. It's, like,
Yeah.
it's so much better. And that
All the great advice we get from other addicts, right?
Exactly.
Terrible.
I was like the last smoker in the room, sniffer, eater, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And so 23 to 24, I'm in jail. Spent birthday, Christmas, all the whole thing. Get out, 4 months in a halfway house. And like I said, my life, I was scared straight. Did my probation, got out, got a job. And then boom, you see this upward trajectory of responsibility in my life. Right?
Well, it's crazy, bro, because we have such similar stories. You know, I didn't go to some fancy rehab in Malibu.
Right.
Like I went to a Medicaid, court-ordered, jail program where I was basically sentenced to 365 days in the Davis County Jail, early release upon completion of the MRC program. And so when you say I was scared straight, I get it, man, because like I'd done, I'd booking releases, arrest and call the wife to bail you out, call the mom to bail you out, right? I'd never spent significant time incarcerated.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I took away from that time being incarcerated, and when I actually ended up going to treatment, starting treatment 6 months after doing 6 months of jail time, was I don't want to do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the drugging, but just the
mentality I was around even.
Yeah. Like
All
you
of it.
remember, bro, like people are walking around and they're coming up to you and they're asking, hey man, I got pulled over and you did an illegal search. And what do you think, man? And I'd be like, bro, I'm not an attorney. I'm here in jail with you.
Yeah.
Like and it's hard to have like constructive, meaningful conversations with people when you're incarcerated. Like,
I was in the halfway house. That reminds me. And one of my just like breaking points, one of those types of conversations, this guy's walking up and down one of the blocks, right? And he's like, hey, candy bar 50 cent, candy bar 50 cent. That's my hustle dog. My wife, my girl gets them with their food stamps, and I can bring them in here and sell them for 50 cents. And I was like, oh my God, I got to get out of here. Like, I can't be around this mentality no more.
Well, good for that guy for hustling.
Yeah.
But yeah, luckily, I feel like for the both of us, as much as we give criminalizing substance abuse a bad rap, I feel like it can, in the right person, it can be very productive.
True.
Yeah. Which I'm not advocating that, we just throw people in jail for long periods of time. But I also got to respect my story, and it sounds like your story too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it worked as far as we go.
So talking about this, we got about 3 minutes left in this first part. Talk to me about this upward trajectory.
Upward trajectory. So I get out of the halfway house. I start doing good. Because I'm a hard worker. I'm not dumb.
4 months in a halfway house is tough too.
Yeah. 0 write-ups, which was a huge accomplishment.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very
So I
nice.
get out, figure out I'm not like my dad. I'm smart. Holy crap. I can actually do things. So I start working for my buddy who's doing stucco, and I basically become his main guy, like running his company while he's doing other things. And that lasts for a while. Then 2008 hits, and I do whatever I got to do. And then in 2010, I end up with a secret clearance working for the United States Air Force after all of that.
That's
So
wild, bro.
Things were going,
I bet you never thought, like in your ripping and running days,
no.
that you'd end up with
Working on the
secret
most
clearance.
advanced weapon system on the face of the planet, and I'm in it, digging in it, with secrets. Like, what?
That's cool.
This
dude.
guy can be trusted with that now?
So is that, once you went to jail, that was your rock bottom?
At that point in my life.
Okay. So I
Yep.
feel like there's a relapse coming up in the story.
Oh, huge. And then you'll see my first tattoo says Sleepy. That was in jail. I was so dope sick from meth that I think it was probably 3 weeks to a month that I would grab a cookie, hop back in my bed. Grab a cookie, hop back
That's
in my
it.
bunk. That was it. I had this white dude I was like, hey bro, get up. You need to go eat. You need to go eat.
Right.
He kind of took care of me. And then after, it seemed like a month. It may have only been 2 weeks, but there was one point they're shaking me. Hey, Sleepy, you need to go take a shower. Sleepy. So then that little chunk of time in that pod, that was my nickname.
Sleepy.
And so somebody smuggled in some tattoo tools, and I'm like, put Sleepy right here, man. That'd be cool.
All the wise decisions we made.
Yeah. Maybe I got scared straight from not doing drugs, but I still wasn't making great decisions.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool though. Like, so it sounds like coming up in your story, you got medical clearance to work on Hill Air Force Base.
Security clearance.
Security clearance.
Yeah.
To work up on Hill Air Force Base.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet, man. So, but you said in 2008 you did whatever you had to do. What does that mean?
So 2008, the economy crashed, right? Housing
yeah.
market shut down. I wasn't educated. Still don't have a diploma, no high school, GED, nothing. I have nothing. I do
No
construction.
schooling.
No
Yeah.
schooling, no nothing. I think the most I ever got was my CDL and Class B at that. And so I'm driving and delivering stucco material for a company. I'm driving bus up at Powder Mountain Snow Resort. I'm just doing whatever I got to do to survive.
Okay. Okay, I got you. Just kind of the early jobs that you take, whatever you can get that comes your way.
Yep.
Okay. Gotcha.
Surviving. And then in 2010, my mother-in-law now calls and says, go get your GED.
We're going to get back to that story in episode 84, part 2, after this 30-second word from our sponsors, Steps Recovery Centers.
You are listening to We Do Recover with Jared Miller and co-hosted by Dr. Terry Sellers. We'll be right back after this short break with more of We Do Recover with Jared Miller, sponsored by Steps Recovery Center and the Hilton Garden Inn.
I'm Desmond Lomax, one of the clinical executives here at Steps Recovery, and once you become with the Steps family, you're just a part of the Steps family. A lot of us have overcome substances, overcome addiction, and now we're able to help other people. Second of all, we're also going to help you in a way where you can afford to be helped. Third of all, we're going to give you the same quality that many organizations are charging 2 to 3 times, and it's more about you than it is about our organization.
We welcome you back to We Do Recover with Jared Miller, co-hosted by Dr. Terry Sellers. Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. And now with part 2 of our podcast, Jared Miller and Dr. Terry Sellers.
All right. Welcome back to part 2 of episode 84. We got LT Weaver on here with us today. He is a guy that has an organization called Recovering Addict, which is a nonprofit organization. We're going to get back to his story and learn a little bit more about his organization. Before that, though, episode 84, part 2 is brought to us by the Hilton Garden Inn. It is always sunny and bright at the Hilton Garden Inn. If you or a loved one want to go on vacation, come down to sunny St. George, hit up the good old Zion National Park, just check out the Hilton Garden Inn in St. George, Utah. Give them a Google search.
Does it have to be a loved one?
Can
Can it be like a convenient one?
Whatever you want.
Available
Sean.
one?
Are you trying to say that you don't want to bring your wife?
I didn't say anything. I'm just looking out for the other guy.
No, that's what you said. I'm going to tell her, dude. You're going to be in the doghouse.
Hold on, let me get her on the phone. I'll ask her. I'll ask her live on the air and see what she says.
That's where I'm staying right now. That place is nice.
Right?
Comfortable.
Yeah, it's pretty
Love it.
cool. I heard you talk about you hit up the pool. They got a really nice pool, right?
Twice now.
Yeah. The thing I love, too, about the Hilton where they're located is quick access to the freeway.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, you're on. You can go north. You can go south.
Yep. I even got my workout in last night because there's a little fitness center. And then I swam laps.
My guy, dude. That's what I'm talking about. They do have a nice little, I forgot about their fitness center. They do have a pretty nice little setup, don't they?
Yeah.
You got a decent workout in?
Way good. Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Cool,
Pumped up
man.
my shoulders real good.
I mean, they don't have the fastest Wi-Fi according to LT, but all right. Well, let's get back into it, man. So grandma calls and says, get your butt back into some
My brother.
education.
Oh,
sorry,
no, you're right. My mother-in-law,
Mother-in-law.
my wife's mom. So I'm
So
on my.
whoa.
Yeah. There's
Whoa.
a little stuff we missed.
When did you get married, bro?
So-
that might be a big part in your story.
Again, I should say. When did I get married again? So I was married for like 4 months. It doesn't even count.
That was like a warm-up.
Yeah, it was a warm
Okay.
She showed up. She came home pregnant, and I was like, "That's not my kid," and it wasn't.
Wow.
We weren't even the same color, but true story. But I raised the kid. Like
For 4 months?
awesome story. No, that's a huge story. So I
That's
met
okay.
her.
We don't got to go there if
Okay.
it's not recovery related. Okay.
It's
All right.
chaos and mentality because though the drugs were gone, the bad decisions and the habitual thinking were still there.
Yeah.
You know, and when I look back, there's just more proof that I
for
needed
sure.
recovery because I didn't actually get into recovery. My why was wrong. I was scared straight, though I had some talents and some motivation to do things, right?
Yeah, but you were still you. You had to figure out
Exactly.
You had to figure out a way to become that caterpillar that turns into a butterfly.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. Listen, I talk to a lot of my, so I work as a substance abuse counselor, and a lot of my clients that I talk to, I tell them, listen, step number 1, we admitted we were powerless over our addiction and our lives have become unmanageable. You can overcome the powerlessness and still have your life be very unmanageable,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Like, yeah, just because you get clean doesn't mean that you learn how to adult.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Though, like on the outside, you could say, wow, he's doing good, you know? So anyway, first divorce, then I remarried my wife, who we've been married 15 years now. So she's my biggest supporter, my stronghold.
Shout out to her, man.
Yeah. Shout out to Felice, Millie's mom. And just, she's an amazing woman.
I've seen her. I've seen her on your guys's. So LT does podcasts and he does go lives and I've seen her.
Yep.
I've seen you guys do a
She
thing
goes with
together.
us.
She seems like she's awesome, man.
Yeah, she had to deal with me as an alcoholic. And so she's there to support people who have a codependency or a co-addiction,
Right.
you know, in a
Because
relationship.
she's been on that side of it.
She
That was
relates.
her reality.
She had to heal. Yeah.
Okay, so married for the second time.
Married for the second time. Her mom calls me, says, go get your GED, fill out this application. I said, yes, ma'am. Did it. 2010, I get hired into the F-22 program as a sheet metal worker. And they sent me to school, trade school, to learn aircraft sheet metal. And as energetic as I am, there's the motivated type, they call me a high burner, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
And I just go after it. When I start plowing the road, I'm plowing the road. And
Type
so,
A personality.
Yeah, exactly. So I
get
did
you.
that on base. And you have that type of personality on base, it's easy to shine because those guys are just milking it up there.
Right,
You know, it's government.
They're
work.
paid by the hour and they know they're paid by the hour.
Right. So I climbed the ladder quick. Became a WL, which is a wage leader in the F-22 program. Redid a bunch of stuff, got awards and all kinds of stuff up there. And then in 2015, switched over to F-35s, which is the newest jet taking over F-16s. And they were brand new at the time, so we're doing IOC and we're doing all that kind of stuff, the trainers and getting everything ready for war. Basically, if you have a stock F-150, say the F-35 comes to me, just like if you gave me a stock F-150, I'd lift it, put 35s on it, put a light bar.
You make it
go
sexy.
Yeah. That's
you're
what we
gonna
did.
Sexy it up.
That's what we did
Okay.
in there. And I switched over from the mechanic side over to the paperwork side. I started climbing the ladder in middle management. And then
Truly thriving.
Truly, yeah, like making good money.
I feel like there's a buck coming along.
Yeah, we were both making good money, and my wife's working on base as well, and we're both making good money. We got the American dream, right?
Yeah.
We can make payments on lots of stuff,
Right?
I got the motorhome, I got the newest cars, got a house on a half acre, I got a giant shop, and we got razors. You know what I mean? We're living that American dream
For
the
sure.
weekend, holidays, and all that stuff. I start drinking casually.
Now listen, when you say you started drinking, had you not really acknowledged or started working a program to realize like the concept of powerlessness?
Nope.
Okay.
No clue.
All right.
No clue about
So
recovery.
you thought that you didn't really acknowledge that you were an addict or an alcoholic, and you thought that you could just do this part-time.
Yeah. Well, I
Okay.
didn't drink. So from like 2008 to about 2014, I didn't drink. I didn't smoke.
Completely abstinent.
Of everything. I was on a fitness kick because when we were on base, we were actually paid 3 hours a week to work out.
So cool.
So I was going to the gym twice a week on base. And so I grew my first set of muscles up there during that time period in the F-22 program. And then I think when I turned 34, 35, I threw we had a birthday party. We tied it on. I mean, we drank good and it was fun.
Got
And I
it.
had a blast. And then
And you just thought that you were going to drink one time and it was going to be just a fun
Yeah,
time and
then
you're
it just-
going to be over it.
yeah, and then we got the new house and the shop, and I'm like, well, I need beer. Like, I can't bring my trucks and park it in here. And
Such a
work
guy
on-
thing,
yeah,
right?
I got to drink beer on the weekdays.
Gotta have me a beer.
Slowly turns into a pint of whiskey on the weekends, a fifth of whiskey and it just gradually just turned into this alcoholism, like
Yeah.
straight alcoholism. By the time I'm 30, let's see, 2015, so by the time I'm 36, I'm a full-blown alcoholic. I'm trying to manage it. I only buy
What does
a
that look
pint.
like for you?
At that point, because it gets worse, at that point, at 36, I was drinking and maintaining by only drinking a pint a night of whiskey, bottom shelf whiskey. Pound it, go to bed, rinse, repeat,
Got you.
Weekends come around, that's another story. Game on. I don't have to go to work
So you
tomorrow.
go even harder then.
Oh, yeah, I was drinking fists, till I puke, pass out, blackout, whatever.
Man.
And whatever party we were going to, meaning when me and my buddies would go up razoring, or if we would go camping, or the neighbors across the street, or whatever, right? It was a reason for me to get
To drink.
wasted. Yeah.
So slowly alcohol kind of seeped into your life and started taking over, it sounds like.
Yes, big time. 2017, this is the big line in my life. Everybody has a line, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people have a line in their lives where they refer to times like before this and after this.
Sure, yeah.
2017, we have an accident. I'm already getting like freaking choked up before I even tell it. That's crazy. But anyway, my 9-year-old son, her older brother, 7 other kids are in this little UTV. They go up the street, and they come down, the UTV flips, popcorns the other kids out, and my 9-year-old goes underneath it and it crushes his head. Drags him down the road, cracks his skull from ear to ear. And it's a weird story because I had left work early that day and just cracked my pint. Took a shot, messing on the computer, and I hear something funny. And then my oldest boy, Amos, comes running in. Dad, they wrecked. And I just out the house, up, past one house at the bottom of the road. There's the UTV, flipped over, all the other kids just screaming, crying, crawling. I look to my right. One of my nephews, his arm is like in a V. His leg's broken. His bones are sticking out. Man. And he's screaming bloody murder, and there's Link, like choking, like on his blood, eyes about to pop out, blood coming out of and I'm just screaming, like, stay with me,
Yeah.
So that whole thing led to cops showing up, ambulance ride, helicopter ride to Salt Lake.
So they put him on life flight?
Oh, yeah.
Man.
First night was meetings with the doctor, like, if he makes it tonight.
Right, those conversations, yeah.
This is what you can expect. Next night, if he makes it tonight. To the point of, okay, we have to remove his skull, his brain's swelling, he's in a coma.
Get out of here, really?
Oh, yeah, they took the whole front part of his skull off. His whole head crushed from ear to ear all the way through back to his brain. And crushed his cheekbone and then broke his jaw. And his collarbone and a couple ribs because the tire landed like right on him. And they got to a point to where the big doctors, like the doctors you don't see, were there because we were like this specialty case.
Right, yeah.
And
I'm sure that's not like an everyday thing.
No, and it was horrible. And the families we saw during that time too. Wow. And so through this time, I call the work. My son's just pretty much dead. We're not coming to work until this is taken care of. Ronald McDonald House puts us up. Shout out to Ronald McDonald House. If you give to any organization, that's the place to give.
So talk to me a little bit about that. Let's take some minutes. I'm not familiar with Ronald McDonald House, and let's let our listeners be educated on it as well.
So Ronald McDonald House is a house next to the hospital, giant house, like multiple rooms, like a hotel kind of, but more like a house.
Okay.
And the middle floor is a large kitchen, huge kitchen, packed fridges full of food. And when you experience something this traumatic and just this jarring immediately, they just put you up in there. They're like,
so you can be close to your
don't
loved
worry
one.
about anything.
Wow.
And you're right next to the hospital. So our whole family had a room.
That does sound like a great organization to contribute to.
A blessing. And guess what I did?
Drank.
Yeah. I found every liquor store within 2 mile radius, 3 mile radius of that Ronald McDonald House. Visit the kid at the hospital. Freak out about that.
Yeah.
Hit the liquor store. Hit Ronald McDonald House. Get drunk. Snot cry. Rinse and repeat.
Listen, man, it's hard to acknowledge that I would be able to do anything different. I mean, that sounds like a super hard time in your life.
The selfishness alone, though. What my wife's going through, what my kids are going through.
Yeah.
And here's me.
I get it, man.
The selfishness of addiction.
Looking back, you can see that.
Yeah.
But in the moment, let's be honest, in the moment, you're just trying to cope.
Yeah.
And the best way to cope is
do what I've been doing.
To drink.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the
big lie that our brain tells us, right? This will make everything okay. This will make everything all better. And really, it's just a lie.
Yeah.
But in the moment, it's hard not to see that.
And the physical addiction and the habit that I'd already built over the last few years.
Sure. It'd be worse to go into DTs while you're visiting your son. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so talk to me.
So he's in the hospital. We don't know if he's going to make it or not still at this point, month or so in. They finally get to lay him down. They put him through an MRI. And this one weekend, the big doc comes in. He says, we got to fix all the fractures in his face. We got to put pins here. We got to move stuff. And
right.
He goes, in order to do that, we need to give him a trach and a feeding tube because, we're going to wire his mouth shut.
Sure.
We're doing all this
reconstructive, facial and head stuff.
Yeah. And he says, but if we do that, we're going to sustain life in this body. And if you choose to do that, you take this home with you. Me and my wife looked at each other, we fell out. Like it was the heaviest weekend of my life ever. And so we dealt with it that weekend.
So was he basically saying that you have the option to either
pull the plug?
Right.
He said this weekend, think about pulling the plug.
Man.
And so that was that weekend.
No parent should ever be given that choice, right?
It was part of life, it happened. But I agree. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
Bro. You talking about it's giving me anxiety. Like I'm getting heavy chested.
Yeah.
Like that's tough.
Yeah, it's hard to talk about still. This was 5 years ago.
Sure.
we come in that Monday. Big Doc shows back up, and he goes up and he grabs Link by the shoulder, and he gives him like a good squeeze. And about a minute or so later, Link goes, just a little shoulder flinch. And he's like, that's a good sign.
So he's just trying to get a reaction out of it.
Anything.
Okay.
Anything.
Some type of response.
Yeah, because at this point, he's comatose. Like coma, like gone. He's gone. Vegetable. And he gives a little twitch, and he's like, that's a good sign. Let's give this boy a chance. And like, whew, biggest weight of my life ever lifted off my chest at that moment. And after that, it's just the Rocky theme song. Dun, 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 dun. Like, he just starts recovering. If we go, I made him a Facebook page, and literally, like, that's how we got him to sit up. Dun, 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 and then we're Rocky songing it. And then when I had to go back to work, my wife stayed at the hospital through that whole part, and I'd visit, as much as I could. And he just starts getting better, climbing, and he's riding his little, strapped in bike, and then he's learning to walk. And all of a sudden he's, and I'm at home, and I built this deck in like 3 days, me and my couple buddies, with a big old wheelchair ramp. And I had like a place for my wife to be able to sit on the thing in the morning with him, because I figured he was going to be in a know.
Yeah, you assume the worst.
Worst. So I built this huge deck, 20 by 20, maybe 30 by 30, a huge redwood deck. And the whole time, my drinking's getting worse at home. My pint a night is out the window. I'm drinking a fifth.
Dang.
Up to a fifth a night, trying to make it to work on Mondays, ruining my reputation, gaining weight. And he comes home from the hospital, still has a feeding tube. His mouth's still a little bit wired shut, but he's alive. He's like making progress, like beyond doctors, like blowing doctors' minds.
Yeah.
So my wife's dealing with that, and then dealing with me being this like drunk, like alcoholic, like bad.
Yeah.
So I'm drinking a fifth or more.
Your wife needs like an all-inclusive weekend at the Four Seasons Hotel.
Oh,
for
yeah.
all the stuff she went through.
Oh, and then some. Yeah, for sure, bro. And she's stuck by my side. So that lasts for 17, 18, 19 till 2019. I
You were
drank
drinking that heavy for
2
that long
years.
of a time.
Yeah, 2 years, and the house is falling apart. And I'm remodeling, right? Which means I've done demo, and that's about as far as I get.
Right.
And so we're living in our motor home in the driveway. I kind of got the bedroom put back together enough to where she could move back in there, and like some of the stuff where the kids moved back into their bedrooms. Living room, kitchen, still just trash, tore apart. So I'm in the motorhome by myself at this point, because she doesn't want nothing to do with me.
Oh, yeah.
She's just like, stay away from me. And one day I just called my dad. I'm sitting there. It's like a Monday. I can't even remember the exact day. Monday, Tuesday. I got a fifth, brand new, another fifth, because I just finished one. And I'm pounding that one. It's like 10 in the morning. I call my dad, just belligerent. If you don't take me into rehab, I'm going to kill myself. Not like I was going to commit suicide, but
right. You're going to
this is
drink
going to
yourself
lead
to
me
death,
to death. Yeah.
for sure.
And so he takes me into a detox center. They say, you're a little too drunk to come in here right now. Go sleep it off. And so my dad.
You were too drunk to go into a detox facility.
Yeah, yep. She said, go sleep it off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, that's when you know that it's scary, right? Because like those places are set up to deal with people who are intoxicated.
Yeah.
And you were too intoxicated to even, like, it was a liability for them to take you in.
Yes.
Bro. Holy cow.
So my dad, he's like, well, I'm not taking him home to sleep it off.
Yeah.
He just, I don't know what he did. He snagged a hotel or something, opened the door, pushed me on, and then sat in the corner. Just, shout out to my dad for that.
Right.
My wife showed up a few hours later, threw some McDonald's down my throat or something. And then
So they got you through till you were able to get into detox.
Till I got back in there, yeah. Then I spent like 3 days in the hospital. And this is where this is where recovery kicked in. This is where I started getting better. Like
the Rocky song for you.
The Rocky song for me. Yeah. And so I get out. I don't check myself into an IOP right away, because I'd been doing a desk job, working in a hangar with no windows. You didn't
go straight to residential?
Nope.
Really?
I built a deck.
Huh.
I tore down this lady's deck, and I built her, which became a metaphor for the rest of my life. It's crazy. I tore down this old rickety deck. You couldn't even stand on it. It was about to fall off the side of this lady's house. And I tore it down. I built her another big one. It's like 6 feet in the air, probably like 12 by 12. Nice seats. I just made it beautiful. It just felt good. I was out in the sun. I was working with my hands. I was sober. I just got out of detox. As soon as I put that last nail in, put that last little bit of paint, whatever on there, sealer, called Action Recovery, said, hey, I need to check in. So I went to an intense outpatient.
Got you. Yeah.
I was there for just about 6 months. Worked all the way up to step 5. And that's, 3.5 hours a night. mandatory AA.
How many days a
meetings,
week was that?
Monday through Friday.
Okay,
and
so
then
5 days a
mandatory.
week, 3.5 hours a night.
Yep.
So it was true. It was a good outpatient.
Oh, very
Yeah.
good. And I luckily had the counselor before he retired, Rick Visser, who they call him like the guru, the Yoda, the guy's the counselor of that world, right before he retired. And he's the one that got through my head.
How? As a counselor to somebody else, I'm always curious because like some people will say to me like, oh, I had the best therapist ever. I had the best counselor ever. And I'm like, what made him the best?
He could see through my BS,
Okay.
and he would call me out.
So he held you accountable.
He held me accountable in a way that got through. And obviously the timing was right too, but
Like I love this saying, like my motto is hate me now, love me later.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I had the same motto now as a peer sport.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Shout out to that dude. What was his name again?
Rick Visser.
Rick Visser. Listen, if you listen to this, teach me the ways. I want to become the Yoda of substance abuse counselors.
But-
all right. So what did that look like after that?
So recovery kicks in 47 days exactly after my clean date of August or whatever, right? 47 days later is October 5th. I decide I'm not powerless. I can still drink. I'm in control now. I just needed a break. I just need a wake-up call. And so I go get a little half a pint of whiskey, nothing big, 3 shots.
This addiction is a disease that tells us we don't have a disease. So I laugh, not because it's funny, but I laugh because so many people think the same thing.
Oh yeah, 100%. And so what do? I put it in my top shelf because it's on my terms, right?
yeah.
I'm in control.
You're a big boy.
But all I'm thinking about is that whole stupid thing. So we go out to dinner, we come home, we're ready to watch a movie. I slam 3 shots, basically, is what it was. And nothing. I wake up with a headache. Obviously gave my wife extreme anxiety. Come to find out later. The kids scared the crap out of them. Come to find out later. But I'm sitting in family group therapy. Every Thursday was family group therapy. All of us in the group, families would show up. Big room full of just family, right? And
Very familiar.
and I told on myself. I was like, hey, I drank last night. I wasn't the hider kind. I didn't hide anything I ever did. I was like, I'm doing it. You don't like it? There's the door. And so we get there, and Whitney, shout out to Whitney, she goes, hey, Felice, how do you feel about LT's relapse? And I was just like, cussing a little bit.
You're in the hot seat now.
I'm in the hot seat now. Yeah. All families looking at me. Long story short, Rick looks at me. He goes, look, because I'd sold everybody that it was a good idea to prove that I could control it. It was a great idea.
Sure.
And so Rick Felice is talking about why it was like, I don't know, it doesn't bother me at all. He's doing it for this reason. And Rick just, stop telling me it was a good thing. He goes, look it, LT, this and this, you check into a detox center, you check into this IOP because you have a drinking problem, right? I'm like, oh yeah. And now you're going to go drink to prove you don't have a drinking problem. And just click. Everything changed. Now I'm sold, like 100%.
How long ago was that?
That was October 5th, 2019.
So how many years you been in recovery?
Almost 3 years now.
So before you were just kind of abstinent. You weren't working a program. You hadn't acknowledged that you were powerless.
Nope.
So we got about 3 minutes left here, and I want to get to Recovering Addict. It sounds like life in recovery today for you is working through your nonprofit.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like you've basically found a way to give back through, like one of the things that keeps me in recovery is doing this podcast, right? I get a lot from it. I'm able to hear amazing stories like yours. So talk to me about Recovering Addict. How does that really help you stay clean? And what does that look like? What do you do for the community?
So it helps me stay clean because it's a passion, right? It started off of my passion for videography and photography.
Which you're phenomenal at.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So it's one thing that I haven't been able to master. There's other skills in my life I've tried playing the bass. I'm like, and I learned a complex song. I'm like, well, I could be good at that if I wanted to. Boring,
Okay.
And then, but videography and photography, I just can't.
It's complex.
I
Man.
can't master it. And so it's just been this awesome thing I've been chasing. So I started a YouTube channel 2020, called it Recovering Addict. 10 episodes later, I just started making little stupid videos, and then COVID hit, and we decided to go live. And we went live 130 episodes in a row, every single night, 7 days a week at 8 o'clock on the dot, reading AA stuff, reading just for today, and just grew this audience. And because of that perspective change, that line in my life, the before and after the accident, life was short, it's fragile. And I don't have time to be afraid anymore. I don't have a time to worry about what are people going to think about me and my decisions? We're all going to be dead in 5 minutes. You know what
We
I
all
mean?
could be dead in 5 minutes. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's my thought process. And I'm like, you know what? So we sold the house. We sold all our cars and downgraded. Got all our money and threw it and bought into Recovering Addict, turned it into a nonprofit, bought a gym. And then that bought me like a year and a half until the nonprofit started growing. And so now at the gym, I'm looking at people who need long-term relapse prevention. Long-term, you've done 90
because
days.
like treatment centers are great for the detox portion, the residential portion, and the outpatient portion. But that maintenance, staying in recovery.
Yep.
That's really where you guys shine.
Yep. I see that little mountain, like, it's step 1, step 2, step 12. And then the hill goes back down. You look and you're like, you see the rest of life on life's terms.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And we're there to help maintain that.
So we got about a minute left. You do gym, you do workout stuff.
Build better habits in life.
If I'm a person in recovery and I'm listening to this, what is your nonprofit going to offer me?
A new life-changing habit system.
Community.
And a community
Yeah.
to support you through that for sure.
I've been watching
digitally and locally if you're in the northern Utah area.
That's the cool thing about today, though, right? Is you do a lot of stuff online. You do a lot of stuff through like this community that you have where people.
Yep.
So I've been following you. You've been doing the 75 hard thing.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's what you challenge a lot of your people to do, similar things like that.
Yep.
So listen, it's been a fantastic podcast. Episode 84 is going down in the books as a great one. Be sure to go check out LT at Recovering Addict. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, recoveringaddict.org if you want to check us out. Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram,
Thank you for joining us today on We Do Recover with Jared Miller.
Help us spread our message of hope. Like, comment, and share.
If you have any topics or ideas for future shows, please share that on our Facebook page.
That Facebook page is We Do Recover with Jared Miller. If you or a loved one needs help, please reach out to us. Again, thank you for listening.
Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. This has been a production from a podcast studio.